right, cool. So y'all got something before I turn it back over to him. I was gonna bring out one, but he already got it on deck.
All right. Malachi chapter 1. RDS, if y'all got anything, I mean, y'all feel free to stop me. Malachi chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Yeah.
The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and I laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever.
All right, that was it. All right, so he said, wherein have you loved us? Right? Have you not, quote, I think it's verse 2. Quote that part again.
I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever.
Cool. So I guess gonna set it up, right? From why we even went here. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So verse 2 again says, who's speaking? The Most High speaking, right? The Most High says, I hated Esau. Just gonna deal with that part. The Almighty said he loved Jacob, but he said he hated Esau, right? So where do we want to go next? If we are doing this lesson to show and prove that the Most High Yahweh does not have to follow his own commands, we have to follow his command. Where do we go next? When he says very clearly in verse 3, I hated Esau. This is the Most High speaking. Where do we go now? Absolutely. Deuteronomy 23, right? Let's go there.
Yep. So the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy 23 and verse 7, and it say this: you should not abhor, which is a synonym for hate, an Edomite, for he is thy brother. You should not abhor just because you was a stranger in his land. So what is it saying? Edomite just don't, it consists on the whole entirety, the whole entire nationality of Edom, right? The first Edomite you have hatred toward, you just broke Deuteronomy 23 and 7. But did he not just tell us in the book of Malachi that he loved Jacob and hated Esau? So here it is once again, front and center, that the Most High is showing you he can do these things, but set parameters on how far we can take it, right? Last few. 1 Kings chapter 22. All right. And so while we're going here, we know that according to Isaiah 45 and 7, it says what? The Most High created darkness, he created the light, right? The Most High created good and evil, right? But we're not supposed to be creating evil, right? We don't have the ability to create light and darkness, right? These are just man-made. So if the Most High does all these things, once again, the question still remains, which is rhetorical at this point: who can tell the Most High that what we see upon the face of the earth is evil is your fault, or you should do this or you should do that? Nobody. The Most High does all these things. Why? because he's about just weights and balances. Where there is good, there is evil. Where there is evil, there is good. All right. So read verse 20 through 23. I want y'all to pay attention to this.
And Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?
Ramoth Gilead, yeah.
And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner.
So the context is showing right here, picking up at verse 20. Yahweh said, right? Yahweh said this. Who shall do this? Go ahead.
21. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also.
So the Most High said, you shall persuade him and prevail. He allowed this lying spirit to go into the mouth of the prophets to persuade them and prevail, right? Now let's get the law concerning this. Leviticus 19. This is the last one. We're going to open it up. So this was a spirit that came forth to the Most High and said this. And the Most High said, go and do it, and you will prevail. When he should have just stopped them and said, no, we can't be dealing with lying and persuading people to lie towards one another, right? Leviticus 19, verse 11. We'll read this, and then we'll open it up. Go ahead. Let's y'all got something.
He shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another.
So this is just, showing us the direct command, not to be deceptive, not to lie, not to steal, right? A commandment for us as mortal men. But the Most High allowed the lying spirit to go into the mouth of prophets and prevail during the time that we just read with King Ahab. All right. So so we can, add other things too, like we got scriptures where the Isaiah said the Most High ways are above our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways, right? So it's showing a clear distinction between the Almighty and us, which we already know that at the gate. But sometimes we just got to put things in a form to show that the Most High is not just bound by one particular thing according to man's feelings. It's not about what we think. It's about how the scriptures lay it out to us. So once again, before we open it up, the Most High did show us in Genesis where he kept the Sabbath day, right? And I'll close it out with this. It said that he created the heavens and the earth, right? And he did all this thing in the span of 6 days. And the seventh day he did what? Rested. But what are we commanded to do as far as the Sabbath day? We supposed to rest, right? So they will be like, he rested too. But then we supposed to convocate, right? And one can argue that he's convocating in the Shamayim, but he don't actually have to convocate if he don't want to. You can't show that. You can't even show where he has to rest. Why? Because the Almighty Elohim is a spirit. Spirits don't need to rest. The Sabbath day also is a feast. Do spirits have to eat? Absolutely not. And he says to cease from your labor. So he was only showing us something by design from a spiritual application, but it doesn't mean because he did it that he have to do it. Because if he break the Sabbath, once again, who can tell him you breaking the Sabbath? Who can tell him, hey, it's a feast. You're supposed to be eating and, convocating and this, that, and the third. All right. So we'll open it up to y'all. But before we open it up, you got something? I got anything? Okay, cool. All right. Can we get a volunteer to pass the mic around to anybody that got a question concerning this, need some edification, quick comment, or whatever the case may be? And of course, y'all know we do this for the listening audience. So if you got maybe like a bunch of comments, questions, stuff like that, we want to make sure everybody get a chance, and then we'll just come back full circle to whom that have like multiple questions or whatever the case may be. So yeah, if anybody got anything, y'all can grab the mic from IG. He walking around with it right now. So, these mics might be cool. Go ahead, sis, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I know I gotta do like a lot of more research, but a couple of questions that was raised to me, like when you gave the example of our parents, right? Like how we couldn't question them. So I grew up in a household when I couldn't question my mom. So like as I got older, it affected me in a way where it was like, even though I feel this way, I can't still question an adult. So I've been trying to like raise my daughter on the tip where if you do feel some type of way and you do have a question, it's okay to question it. So when you like compare the two, I'm like that's why I'm like, that's why I said maybe he should, because I'm trying to be like me, trying to be an example for her. If I tell her like a rule or something, I would try to set that example. So it kind of made me feel like, all right, so, like it kind of made me feel confused in a way. So I know I need to read more about it, but that example kind of like made me feel like, am I doing the wrong thing about raising my baby like that? Like not giving her the opportunity to question me, because I feel like that was really a problem, like back in the day, like me feeling some type of way, like, all right, no, you're not allowed to eat snacks at night, but I'm in the kitchen eating snacks. Yeah, I bought it, but what's the reason why I'm telling you cannot, and I'm doing it in your face? So I don't know. It just kind of made me feel like it's like, I don't know, kind of confused.
So I'll go back to the law. So the law that says not to revile the Elohim, meaning you have to show respect, right? When we're dealing with our parents, like the law says, honor thy mother and thy father. So we've questioned our parents, right, before. So it's not just any circumstances that we have as far as the encounters between our parents, as far as questioning them, but it's how you're going about it. Meaning like this, if you're, I'll double back. So the law saying not reviling the gods or the Elohim, Yahweh would be also considered within that, right? The Elohim of, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's like this. If we ask the Most High questions concerning the book, did we do wrong? It's just trying to get an understanding. Like, show me, like, why don't people teach about the Sabbath? You're not reviling them. You're just asking to get an understanding. Versus, why are you doing this in a sarcastic way? Like, as if they can't do it. You know what I mean? If I can put it in that perspective. So I understand, though, as far as the emotional side, as far as like, growing up in a household where you feel kind of suppressed and different things of that nature. I can understand that, in which I acknowledge your stands behind needing to read more, because we make a distinction now between, okay, what are we really dealing with? Are we dealing with the Almighty allowing us to be free to speak to him from a relational side? Or are we really dealing with an Almighty that suppresses us where we can't have a relationship or a connection? And for some people here on earth, there is a line drawn with connecting to your parents, because everybody is flesh and we just deal with one another differently. Versus the Most High, he actually wants us to have a relationship with him, but we shouldn't question why he doing this when he actually have the ability to do whatever he wants, as if he has to be like us, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I'm just going to touch on a few of the comments that you made.
Okay.
The one about David and Urias, and David not being punished, and Yah punishing the son. We have to also remember that Yah also promised that our Savior would come through David. He made that promise to David, even before David did what he did. Now, for him to break that promise, then that means the Messiah would not have came through David. Now, the law still had to be fulfilled. David was remorseful about what he did. And this is why Nathan told him that the child is going to take your place. And that's basically only because Yah had already promised us that the Messiah was going to come through David. Now, did he directly kill Uriah? No. Did he attribute to Uriah's death? Yes, he did. And for that, he would have to stand for that. And he did, because in the aftermath of his sons and his daughters went through a whole lot of mess. And that was because David had denied Uriah a chance to even have kids. So David couldn't live the life that he would have lived if he hadn't done that with Uriah. Then you said that Pharaoh, that God said, I'm going to take your firstborn. Actually, it was Pharaoh who made that curse on him, because Yah said the next thing curse that comes out of him, comes on them, is going to come from Pharaoh's mouth. So it's Pharaoh who put the death on the firstborns. And can you be guilty of the sins of your father? No, not unless you continue to do the same sins as your father. Now, we also know that when we were under captivity with Egypt, a lot of us died. A lot of our lives were taken from us. Now, at some point in time, Egypt had to stand accountable for that. And y'all, and all these deities that they had, during that time, you can't say that you didn't know a Yah, because you knew a Yah with Joseph. And Pharaoh, that was Pharaoh at the time, knew of Yah. Now, over the time period, did some things get lost and forgotten? Evidently so. But that still don't make it so, because there were still some of us who were still trying to keep the Sabbath and things of that nature, But I can go on, but I'm gonna let somebody else, put some comments in.
Okay. You want to touch on?
Okay. Yeah. So I think that sometimes some of the points of the lesson gets kind of lost in the sauce. So think about this. Remember, back to the point. The point is the Most High don't have to keep his own laws. And reading the law and then looking at the action that the Most High did, he didn't keep his own law in many of these aspects, right?
Justified by everything that he did.
What do you mean he was justified? What do you mean by that?
Anything that he did against someone, he had a justifiable reason to do it.
Oh, okay, cool. Gotcha. Let me touch on that.
He done something to us that caused him to do this.
Cool. So let's touch on that, right? So the elder's saying that the Most High was justified in what he did because somebody did something to us, right? So let's look at that, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 24:16 again. We gonna make crooked things straight, right? And so we're gonna touch on a few different things real quick. Sometimes we don't see it the first time. Sometimes we gotta look at the thing again. Deuteronomy 24:16. Give y'all a second to get there.
24:16.
24:16. This is a law to who? To us, right? Is this a law that the Almighty gave to himself? Absolutely not. But let's read it. It says, the father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. That's crystal clear. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. We can't get a man that did something and go kill his son for it. Is that what that's saying? Do everybody agree that's what that's saying? If a man did something worthy of death, we can't go get his son and kill him for it. Is that a law that we have? Right? Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. The sons cannot be put to death for the sins of the father. Right?
These were illegitimate kids.
What do you mean, illegitimate kids? Hold on, Mike. What do you mean, illegitimate kids?
David's child that he had.
Well, wait, we didn't get there yet. Hold on.
Okay.
We only reading this so far.
Okay.
Right? I'm just making sure everybody understands this law so far. That, again, it clearly says, the father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Right? Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Now, we can show all throughout this book that the Most High have killed other people for the sins of someone else. Right? So let's go there real quick. Let's go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 21. All we gonna do is remember this law we just read and read this scripture. 2 Chronicles, chapter 21. You can take the reading out.
I got them up. They on. Oh, you want?
It's 1 Chronicles, chapter 21. Let's go there. 1 Chronicles, chapter 21. We're gonna start reading at verse 1, and we gonna get a context, right? We're not gonna add to nothing that we read. We're not gonna take away. We just gonna read it flat out, and it's gonna say what it say, right? But remember, in this law that we just read, every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Let's see if that always happens, right? But now, we can't do that because I could go to another verse that clearly says, well, I may hit that next. Let's hit this first. Let's see if every man is put to death for his own sins in the eyes of the Creator. What does the Most High do? Go ahead. We're going to start at verse 1.
And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel.
First of all, that's a sin in and of itself. If we know the law, it is a sin to number Israel, to number the whole nation of Israel, right? The Almighty commanded us, do not count nor number the children of Israel. So go ahead.
And David said to Joab, Salaki, and to the rulers of the people, go, number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, that I may know it.
So now David is the king of Israel. He just gave a command to one of his officers, go and number all Israel and tell me the number, that I can know the number. Go ahead.
Verse 3, and Joab answered, Yahweh make his people 100 times so many more as they be. But Yahweh the king, are they not all Yahweh's servants? When or why then doth Yahweh require this thing? Why will he be a cause of trespass to Israel? Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab.
Nevertheless, Joab didn't want to do it because he knew it was wrong. Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab. Go ahead.
Wherefore Joab departed and went throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem.
So he obeyed what the king said. Verse 5, go ahead.
And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people unto David, and all they of Israel were 100,000 and 100,000 men that drew sword. And Judah was 403 score, 10,000 men that drew sword.
But what just happened so far? Numbered Israel, which means what? David just committed a sin by commanding them to do it, and Joab was complicit in that sin by numbering Israel. These two men just sinned. Go ahead, verse 6.
But Levi and Benjamin counted he not among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab.
And Joab knew it was wrong, so he tried to leave out some, right? But the Most High still charging them with sin because you did it. Watch this. Go ahead, verse 7.
And Yahweh was displeased with this thing, therefore he smote Israel.
So the Most High was displeased. The Most High was mad that they did that. And then the Most High smote who? Did he smote David? Did he smote Joab? He smote Israel. Israel is a nation. Now let's see who he smote. Keep going.
And David said,
wait a minute, before we go, smote means killed. The Most High just killed somebody because David and Joab numbered Israel. Keep going. Watch verse 8.
And David said to Yahweh, I have sinned greatly.
Now he's repenting because some people just died, but he wasn't one of them that just died. Keep going to the top of verse 8.
And David said to Yahweh, I have sinned greatly because I have done this thing. But now I beseech thee, do away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly. And Yahweh spake unto Gad, David's seer, saying, Go tell David, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto thee.
Now, the Most High is giving David a choice. You're going to be punished, but you get to choose your punishment. You ever been little and your mom or dad said you want to be on a punishment or you want a whooping? This is the scenario that David is on. He's going to be punished, but he get to choose his punishment. Watch this.
Verse 11. So Gad came to David and said unto him, Thus saith Yahweh, choose thee, either 3 years of famine or 3 months to be destroyed before thy foes, while that the sword of thine enemies overtaketh thee, or else 3 days the sword of Yahweh, even the pestilence in the land, and the angel of Yahweh destroying throughout all the coasts of Israel. Now therefore advise thyself what word I shall bring again to him that sent me.
Go ahead and watch what David gonna pick.
And David said to Gad, I am in a great strait. Let me fall now into the hand of Yahweh. For very great are his mercies. But let me not fall into the hand of man.
So that's what David chose. David chose to be punished by the Most High. Let me fall by your hand. Now watch what the Most High hands meant, though. Falling by the Most High hand. Read the next verse. We don't have to add to this. We just reading what it says. Go ahead, verse 14.
Yahweh sent pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000 men.
How many men just died?
70,000.
None of those men were David. None of those men were Joab. No, I'm proving his point. His point is the Most High does not obey his own laws. In Deuteronomy 24:16, the Most High said, you can't, every man must die for his own sin. David just committed a sin by numbering Israel, and then he repented from that sin, and the Most High said, listen, you can choose your punishment, and he chose to fall by the sword of the Most High. And the sword of the Most High killed 70,000 men, and none of them were David. So if it proves your point, then David would have died, not the 70,000. But hold on, let me finish this first, and then I'll let you speak again. We got to finish this. Verse 14, we're going to pick up at verse 14. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Yeah, we got to read that again.
So Yahweh sent pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000 men. And Yahweh sent an angel unto Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was destroying, Yahweh beheld, and he repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed, it is enough. Stay now thine hand. And the angel of Yahweh stood by the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite.
So now the Most High said, look, 70,000 have died. That's enough. Now watch what happens next. Watch how David understood this whole thing that happened. Read the next verse, verse 16.
And David lifted up his eyes and saw the angel of Yahweh stand between the earth and heaven, having a drawn sword in his hand stretched out over Jerusalem.
About to kill some more people. And what happened?
David and the elders of Israel, who were clothed in sackcloth, fell upon their faces.
Why is David still alive? The whole thing is his fault. Why is he still alive and all these other people died? Go ahead. Next verse.
17. And David said unto Yahweh.
Watch what David said. This is very important to what David said. David was a king of Israel and he understood what was going on. Watch what he said. Go ahead.
It is not I that commanded the people to be numbered.
No, he said, is it not I? Start at the beginning of verse 17 again.
And David said unto Yahweh, is it not I that commanded the people to be numbered? Even I it is that have sinned and done evil indeed. But as for these sheep, what have they done?
As for these sheep, what have they done? All these 70,000 that died. But he's saying, it is I'm the one that numbered Israel. As for these people, what have they done? Go ahead.
Let thine hand, I pray thee, Yahweh, my Elohim, be on me and on my father's house, but not on thy people, that they should be plagued.
David understood what was going on perfectly. He said, I'm the one have sinned. As for these people, these 70,000 people you just killed, don't let your wrath be on them. Let it be on me. I'm the one have sinned, or at least my household, but not all these 70,000. So the only point that we can read all throughout these scriptures, that whatever commands the Most High command us to do, that's for us to do. Yahweh can do whatever he wants to do because he said he is the potter and we're the clay. If he chooses to have your life last 10 years, that's what he chose to do because he created you. He gave you the spirit in it. If he chooses to have you live 90 years, that is all his choice. And the scripture says the clay can't say to the potter, why am I thus? Why didn't I live to be 100 years old? Why didn't I? Because everything is in the Most High's hand. Your life and everything else. The only thing we can do is bow to the will of the Most High. And now, one more, and then we'll open it up again before we're done. And he might have some, but I'm going to read only one more that he brought out because this verse to me is so strong that I just got to read it. I think maybe you didn't want to see it. It's only one verse, Exodus 4:22. Let's go here. Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. Now, again, if we take the position to say this, if we take the position to say, oh, because someone did something wrong, then we have a reason to kill him. We don't have that reason to kill the son, right? So, for instance, in the law, murder was cause for that person could be killed. If you committed murder, you could be killed as well in our law, right? You just went out and grabbed some random guy and just killed him for no reason, then in our law, we could kill you, but we can't kill your child. That's unrighteous. Your child didn't do nothing, we can kill you, right? But Exodus 4:22, read that out.
And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
Verse 23.
And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn.
The Most High said, if you, Pharaoh, don't let Israel go, I'm going to kill your son, even your firstborn. Now, when we continue to read, who else died in Egypt? All the firstborn of Egypt. Every single firstborn in Egypt died. That was the Egyptians' firstborn. Every single one. Now, let's think. Some of those firstborn was two months old at the time. They was the firstborn. They had to die. What did they do? They didn't do anything. They were babies. Some of those firstborn could have been a day old. Some of those firstborn was 10 years old. One of the firstborns that died was a lady, was a man that was he was in jail himself. He was in the dungeon and his firstborn died. He ain't have nothing to do with it. He was locked up in jail himself. He didn't make no decision. So it's very simple. Yah can do whatever he wants. He don't have to keep the laws that he gave us. And to the question that you said earlier, says real quick, our children are not our peers, meaning you can give them examples according to their age. When they get to your age, they could go in the kitchen all they want and eat at nighttime when they're a grown woman, when they have their own house and things like that. But we can't say, we don't have to look at our children like, well, if your child is little and you give her a bedtime of, she may be 8 years old. Okay, your bedtime is 9 o'clock. That don't mean you have to go to bed at 9. And it's not messing up the example because you're not peers, right? When you're a child, you have certain things that you adhere to as a child. As you get older, you have more, things that you can do, more abilities and more things like that. So the main thing is making your child understand that you're in a child's position and you follow me as your parent. And when you get to this age, like I remember hearing that when I was little. Yeah, when you're an adult, you can do X, Y, and Z. Now I'm an adult and I can do these things. You know what I mean? When I was a child, I can't stay out all night long. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say that. Well, even if say for instance, an example would be, no, you cannot. What's another example? I just lost what you thought. But if I'm telling you can't do nothing, yes, you're my child, right? You're my child. But it's not gonna really do nothing but force you to probably be on the sneaky side. Because just because I tell you, no, you cannot jump on my couch. Guess what? When I'm not there, guess what you're probably doing? You see what I'm saying? So I feel like children follow what you do. When you do it, regardless, I'm the adult, you can't do that. No, you cannot do this because I'm the adult and you're the child. They see and hear just like you would hear. Like, say for instance, a parent just cussing and knock on her child in the public. But you go out on your child when they curse, guess what? Because you're the adult and they're the child. But in their head, that's all they hear you do is curse. So how do you expect your child to be like, I'm not gonna curse? That's all they hear. They knew what you do. You see what I'm saying? So that's where I was coming from. Not necessarily just that's my example about going in the refrigerator. That's understood, but just it's like bigger situations. No, you cannot talk to boys, but I'm being the example of talking to all these men. You see what I'm saying? Just examples.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. So.
I got you. You definitely want to be a righteous example. I got you.
Now on the subject about the sins of your forefathers, the child cannot suffer the sins for his forefather. And isn't that what we're going through right now?
Well,
right? Let me finish.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going through right now for the sins of our forefathers.
Absolutely.
And as long as we continue in that sin that they did, we're going to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those who are not under those will be the ones who keep the Father's words, right? As far as David was concerned, see, a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people think that grace didn't come about until Yeshua, the Son of God, came. But grace was being given to us well before then. As he said, and Moses, no, and Noah.
Abraham found grace in his sight.
Exactly. So if you go to repent and ask for forgiveness, as a matter of fact, David offered his life for a lot of times when he's done things wrong. Now, Yah said that he's not one who could lie. If he kills David for the sins that David did, then Messiah would not never came through him. So David was remorseful for everything that he did. And he actually wanted his death instead of the child's death. But Yah had already promised us that Yeshua was going to come through that line. So if he takes David's life, then he would be doing what? So he had to find other alternatives for David to be punished. The child took David's place. That's why Nathan told him, the child going to take your place for death. Because Yah had already promised that Messiah is going to come through you. So Yah ain't going to be the one to lie, even though we make mistakes, and Yah will correct us for these things, and he's still going to punish you for some of these things that we've done.
I understand where you're going, but how does him taking David's life because of what David did stop the Messiah from coming? David already had children. David already had.
But none of those kids, Messiah didn't come through none of the kids.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's twofold. These are the two things, right? And this is a whole nother lesson. But, okay, when you go to David's descendants, that's why it says this. That's why it says in Revelation, it says that the Messiah is the son of David. Notice that it says that he's from the seed of David. You're familiar with those scriptures, right? But notice that it doesn't connect back to those descendants from David, because what happened is after David descendants came, it was at a point only two men that the Messiah could come through, right? One of them name was Jeconiah. And what happened with Jeconiah? The scripture says that Jeconiah was cursed. And it says that every leader that comes from you, Jeconiah, will be cursed. So therefore, the Messiah come through Jeconiah, he's a cursed Messiah. So what happened is this. That's the reason why Matthew says that Mary was actually a virgin, that Joseph, her father, never laid with her, because that cursed seed would have came down through the Messiah. But what happened? Go ahead.
You run minutes for Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, I got that. I got that. That's what I'm saying. David wasn't cursed in that way. So what happened is this. This is what happened in the whole virgin birth, right? The Most High put the in Mary without Joseph.
That's absolutely right.
Right, without Joseph, he put the seed of David. He put the seed of David, it come through David, but not them men that came after David. Because when we go into these scriptures, it was very clear that these people they was cursed after that, and the scripture was very clear that no ruler that comes from you is gonna prosper. So it's just a whole nother thing that I wanted to bring out. So definitely about David, but even if David died then, that would have never stopped the prophecies and the Messiah coming. That didn't stop anything that was gonna happen. That's all I'm saying.
God already made this promise.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have stopped the promise, is what I'm saying. Like if David would have died right then and there,
You can't break that promise.
yeah, what I'm saying, if David would have died right then and there, then no, the promise would have been broken because the same thing would have happened.
To who?
Right.
Because none of the kids of David did that seed come through. It was through the other child that he had.
That's why it's a virgin birth, is what we're saying.
But
You know what I
still,
mean?
Still came. When Mary is a descendant of David.
I understand what you. It's just well, let's do this. It'll be easier if we don't end it real quick. If we use one of the other ones other than David, then. Let's just use how the Most High killed Pharaoh's son and all the firstborn in Egypt. Right? We'll use that instead.
So, let's sit down. I'm gonna let you finish up.
Yes, so we'll use that instead. You know, but I definitely understand what you're saying. It's some technicalities with the David thing. I definitely understand it. But yeah. But when we're using the other ones, it's just very clear that the Most High killed all the firstborn in Egypt because of what Pharaoh did. You know, and so that's all we're getting at. You know, so you want to finish up?
No, I was just
So that's why we you know, for a lot of people that may question, like, why do they live stream? This is why. So that we can have everything recorded to be able to go back, you know, listen, dissect it and different things of that nature. And so, you know, we're more than open, you know, to anybody's scriptures and perspective. But me personally, I felt like it was clear right out the gate when we dealt with, you know, the scriptures we was dealing with concerning just him not having to follow his own laws and stuff like that. So not to beat at a dead horse, man. If ain't nobody else got question, comment, or concern or whatnot, we don't have anything on YouTube or Facebook. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Get ready for the praise portion and stuff like that. You know, so we'll go from there.
you got something?
Oh, you got some? Hold on, who? Okay. And Ima K, yeah, you said a part 2. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'll get with you after the Shabbat. We'll talk about it. I think if we had a part 2, we'll just pretty much be saying like some of the same stuff. Beating at a dead horse. So, but yeah, we'll talk about it or whatnot. If you got anything you want to talk about, just hit me up. So go ahead.
I just wanted to look at it from a different perspective. Like we talked about death. And that's one perspective, but another perspective is just looking at all the stories that we read and how the sins of one person impacted so many other people. And just like why we here today. And I like to look at something called epigenetics, where we kind of carry a lot of the good and bad markers of behavior of your parents and forefathers with you. So it's like extremely important for you to walk upright, following the laws and commandments and the things that you do. And the people around you also, so that you don't continue to carry those bad characteristics and traits on for generations and generations. So otherwise, it's just like continuing sin over and over and over again, and not necessarily. And when I say sin, I'm talking about all kind of stuff. So, like, you know, things that are sexual sins, you know, molestation, alcoholism, drug abuse, all of those kind of things. Like, it is scientifically backed up that you kind of when you do that as a person, you are, you know, bringing characteristics on yourself that are going to be passed down. So it's extremely important, like when you making decisions for yourself as an adult, that you try to correct those so that you don't bring those curses upon the next generations. So that's why it's extremely important to try to do all you can to follow the Most High statutes and commandments and correct like ill behaviors, because if you thinking about it, and if you have any type of, morality and want to make sure that your generations and the generations to come don't continue to suffer from the same curses, it's extremely important that you get yourself right.
And so he said this, visiting the iniquity into the third and fourth generation. You can be an individual within the third and fourth generation that stops it. Oh, my grandfather, my father, and so on and so forth, they were all Shabbat breakers. I am now the Shabbat keeper, which leads my children to be Shabbat keepers and their children. So these are the examples, kind of going back to what the sister was saying. These are the examples that we give our children moving forward to allow them to know what we are to do when we become of age. So it's it's poetic language. It's beautiful when we read scriptures like train up a child in the right way they should go. So when they get older, they won't depart. Old don't mean 17, 18. Old means when they get old and, gray-headed, stuck in their ways, they're not going nowhere. We see it on the other side of the spectrum with people in Christianity. They're 60, 70 years old. What are they? Old and stuck in their ways. So we should be like that on this side. Abraham was 99 years old when he circumcised Isaac. But guess what? He also circumcised himself. He was supposed to do that at 8 days old. But the fact that he was serving the Most High in an old age, he didn't depart. His children was known to keep the laws. Not all, but the ones that did hearken. Right? So it should be like a ripple effect and stuff like that. So when we're dealing with it. But that's a great point, though. Go ahead, Doc.
I just wanted to give like a land back off of generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's like very powerful, these generational curses. And I really didn't understand it really until I really just started coming into the truth and just trying to fix like my life. So then when I look back on some of the generational curses, man, it's true. And if you don't try to break them, I mean, it's just going to just go to the next generation, Because I had to look back at like my father, I was born in Jamaica, so I didn't grow up with my father. And my father, he has like 7 kids between like 6 different women. So then when I look at that generation on curse, I'm like, man. Then when I look at myself, I could possibly have 5 kids by 3 different women. So from understanding the curse, I had to break the curse of now, I try to teach, I got a 24-year-old son, and I have a 19-year-old son. So my 24-year-old son might have a son, he don't know, him and the kid's mom, she lived in Tennessee where he went to college at. They got some things going on, so he don't really know. He was supposed to take a DNA test, and then COVID hit, so that kind of just delayed things. So anyway, so now it's my job as a father to, once I came into the understanding of this truth and this knowledge, and trying not to, and just try to just be married and not be a whoremonger, those things. It's my job as a father to teach them the same thing so that they could break the curse, so they don't have to be like how I was or like how my father was. We just have a whole bunch of children by different women. So, man, the power of them generational curses, man, is very powerful. And if you don't break them, they're just going to keep following you, following you.
And think of this too. I want everybody to uplift themselves and put themselves in a perspective and a mind frame that sometimes it's not always you that causes the child to go astray. Sometimes it's not what they see you do, but what they see society doing. But the fact, as far as us teaching them how to be whoremongers and stuff, but the problem lays on us is not teaching them how not to be a whoremonger. And this is what the scriptures are showing us in that sense. So a father may have not been a whoremonger. A mother may have not been, a whore, so to speak. But society taught them that, and we didn't catch them early and soon enough to get them from going after, promiscuous lust and stuff like that. So, but, I think we should have these discussions like this, during like our iron sharpens iron, because that's part of nation building. Talking about, you say epigenetic, yeah, stuff like that. I agree, like, with that and the point you made, like, we need to have these discussions so that we can stop it at the gate. And just trust in the Most High. And know that if you do have a child that veer, guess how many kings it was in the nation of Israel? 41, 42, 41. And my numbers might be off. But guess how many was righteous out of them 40 kings? Right? Descendants from stemming all the way back to David and beyond. So it's like only about 7 or 8 kings was righteous. One of them was an 8-year-old. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't get bent out of shape. Just stay focused. Keep your head on the plow. Teach our children, even if it seems like they veering off, get back on them. Get back on them and believe they'll get on track if they are. But yeah. Anybody else got anything before we go to the next segment? Y'all got anything? No. Good. All right. So we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Part of the tour, man. Somebody before that.
That was the cue. Okay. Yeah, so right now we can go ahead and rise for the elders. We'll take a quick little break. Different setup in here, y'all. We're gonna try to figure out, how to be acquainted with the new look and stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna look to get the Most High some praises, man, and different things of that nature. 1 second. All right now, elder. Take it easy, man. Love you, man. I'll read this question while we taking our quick break. Y'all can be seated whenever you feel, or you want to stay stretched and stuff like that, you can do so. But this coming from E. McKay. She said about the Most High, follow his own laws. I don't believe he has to, because he is an authority over us. We are not authority over him. That's why he is sovereign, unlimited, unrestricted, and unrestrained. Hallelujah. Yep.
Now, we took a survey at the beginning.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, listen up, y'all.
All right, so in the beginning, we asked a show of hands that who believes that the Father, Yahweh has to follow his own laws. Some people had their hands up, some people didn't know. What is y'all synopsis now that we went through the lesson where we see on multiple cases where he did contrary to what his law was for us? By a show of hands, how many believes now that the Almighty has to follow his own laws? I guess nobody. Point proven. That's a good thing.
Glad you thought about that.
Ask it the other way, just in case the people don't know.
What meaning like?
Who believes that he don't?
Right.
Yeah.
So-
I think it was
who-
that
who-
way.
Well, here, ask because I don't see what he said.
So, show of hands from the things that we tallied earlier. Show of hands. Who believe after the lesson? Who believe the Most High don't gotta follow the laws?
Online, ready to online.
Cool. Who don't know? Who's optimistic? Who's in the middle?
Someone still not clear?
Okay.
You still not clear up? Oh, okay.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and get into some praise and worship, man. Before we get started, All right, so before we get started, where the family at? You said no. Okay.
I can if before presentation.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you good.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, listen up real quick, y'all. Sister Tiffany got an
I
announcement.
just wanted to we need volunteers for the outreach. Like a lot of we talked about the outreach. And so we're going to be going to the homeless shelter. It's called Barren Homeless Shelter. And we plan on feeding 150 men. And so I need as many volunteers, like as far as preparing, because we're responsible for preparing the food and also for serving the food. They're only going to let 10 volunteers come and serve because of COVID. But we need volunteers as far as preparing the food, trying to get a menu together. The date is March the 21st, so 2 Sundays from now, I believe. And it's going to be at 6 p.m. I believe Sister Jessica, she's not here, but she was going to have a list of like people to sign up as far as like what you can contribute or what you can bring. I already have like about 7 volunteers. So I'm looking for like 3 more volunteers. And then, like I said, also we need volunteers like as far as preparing the food. So we have like 2 weeks. So I just wanted to let everyone know and just talk to me or Sister Jess for any comments or questions or concerns.
Just one question. Are women allowed to go into the
Yes,
right?
yes. And it's a women's and it's a men's shelter, but there's so many. Like we had to choose like as far as which one we were gonna serve because trying to do both in one day would be a lot. So I chose the men, and we're looking to serve about 150 men. And for the volunteers, there's paperwork that has to be completed before we go down there. I'm just still waiting on her to send me the paperwork. So we got a couple of weeks, and we need everybody's help.
We have about 20 pounds or more of pasta.
Right.
So if we want to make it a pasta meal.
I saw that, and that would be for a lot of people. That would be great.
Rice as well.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Rice and pasta. And then also, I felt like everybody who wants to could bring a dish or prepare a dish and bring the dish. Like I said, Sunday the 21st at 6. They said we can arrive at 5:30.
So what if I just hear you saying like everyone could have prepared a dish? Could you set like a menu so that we'll be specific, so that everybody know that they're eating green beans, they're eating this, and so that we can focus on that. We get several big cans of green beans, so we know we got 6 trays of green beans, we got 6 trays of rice.
Yes.
We're serving. I know pasta don't go with that, but pasta. Okay.
Right.
But then so that way. There's no confusion. Oh, well, this person brought liver or something crazy. You know what I mean? No, we got a menu. We're going in there. We're organized. We come to serve y'all, and we're prepared.
Exactly.
So let's do it like that.
That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
1 second. McKay said call her to prepare food.
Okay. Great.
So you got her number?
I don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, we got it.
Okay.
And we got that board back there, y'all. We're gonna update it with the event on March 21st, as well as some more events and stuff like that, right over there next to the kids' room. So, Sister Na.
I was gonna offer up, but I haven't looked at it.
Stop fronting about your loyalty. That shit is see through. Got breaking news. We ain't crew. I know except for us, and where were you? Stabbed in the back, only left the bruise. Fuck you, hoes. Woo! Woo!
I turned them down. They off.
Yeah, I don't know about. Wait a minute. So I don't know about. Say what you gonna say.
Offer to see if everybody would, if you would want to rent a kitchen, we could rent the kitchen. If Kickstarter volunteers could kind of come at one time, I'll make the same thing in the meals and have them totally prepared. If that's something that's interesting, get you everybody.
That would be a good idea. Like we could all gather early Sunday afternoon before we head down there.
Right. It'll still be warm and everything. And it's the center downtown.
Oh, right, on Jess Street.
Okay, so yeah, it's the Kickstart Kitchen is right across the bridge.
Okay.
The Philly Kitchen is not open, so that would have even been better. But it's not far.
Okay. So we just need to figure out renting the space.
Right.
Okay.
Everybody will want to.
All right. Well, you can count me
That's
in
it.
as a servant for
Okay.
sure.
If
you haven't
and I got
already
you.
did
I already
so,
got
okay.
you on the list.
That's cool.
So far,
So the list is from the post.
yeah. I'm trying to. Okay, so far I have Aharon, Hannah, Sahar, Yash. Well, I just assumed.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. I forget Yakana, I know, and Jess. Like I said, we got I have 7 or so. I just need a few more, just a couple more, because they keeping it limited just because of COVID.
Cool.
That's all.
All right. So, like I said, we'll update that small board back there. Real quick, I don't know what's going on with this here.
I want to shut it down.
I mean, we doing praise and worship and they jumping back in on this. It's gonna kind of damper it. I mean, we could just put on some music and break. I don't know. I want to really take the chance till I figure out exactly what's going on. Sound like they over there. Well, over there. Yeah. What the heck they having? Open? Like, what are they having? Like open mic?
In the daytime, can we just use that and then don't use the mic to sing? We use that for the background, and then just sing without the mic.
Yeah, because a lot of the songs we all know.
We can. Turn up with y'all. Come on, then. If y'all want to do that, come on. Y'all got to turn up though.
Yeah, right.
All right, y'all. So we got to project.
Same thing, just without the mic.
Yeah, because they jumping on all the channels. Like,
Still have that one mic.
yeah, they don't like using that one though. They ain't humble enough. They be like, Aaron, you do that.
You disconnected.
Nah, you can't really project.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Turn me and sound a little bit.
So we'll just we'll soften it on here.
Y'all got some competition. They already started dropping hard.
That wouldn't sound. That ain't
They don't
sound
wanna mess
good
with us,
if that
no.
wasn't the truth. That could have been. I'm gonna just set this right in here.
But I guarantee you, St. Louis, that event is already sold out.
Y'all say them over there, Red Park. It gotta be them. Hey, y'all want to go pass out the flyers, man? It's stick out there after prayer work. Super big. All right, so we'll just have to like soften it. All right, y'all, man. We're gonna go ahead and close out. We have some technical difficulties with our mics. But shalom, shalom. Love y'all. tune in next Shabbat day. We'll catch up with y'all later. McKay, you can go ahead and call my phone or hit me in the inbox or whatever you choose. So we'll link and talk more later. But I love y'all. Shalom, shalom. We'll catch y'all next week.